Danny and Linda. Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need a motion to accept this evening's agenda. States? All in favor? Aye. Moving on to the consent agenda, I need a motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting. Second. Any questions regarding the minutes? All in favor? Aye. Aye. That's carried as well. Okay, the personnel section of the consent agenda. I need a motion.
So moved.
Linda.
Second.
Jason. Any questions regarding the personnel section of the consent agenda? All in favor? Aye. That's carried. All right, the remainder of the consent agenda. I think we need to remove section 7.6. We're going to have that report at a later date. So I need a motion to accept everything but section 7.6.
The 7.4.
7.4.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 7.4, yes. Was it 7.6? Oh, no, 7.6, I'm sorry, 7.4, you're right, Kevin. The consent agenda minus section 7.4.
So moved.
Jason? Kathy? Any questions? All in favor? Aye. That's good. Okay, we have a lot of people here today, so let's forego the president's report. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Civic. So tonight we are fortunate to have our Mathalon teams here. It's been 2 years since we've been able to do the Mathalon, and Waverly hosted it this year, and look at the number of kids that we've had participate. This is really exciting. So I want to turn it over to our teachers that were our coaches for these Mathalon teams to share with you.
Sure. Where would you like us to stand?
Right up front.
Okay. Can we bring everybody with us?
Sure.
Well, I certainly don't have to be the only one talking. I'm Karen Monfort. I teach 6th grade here at the middle school, and I have been there for 6 years. I did do taught 4th grade over OAS for a long time before that. So when I started at the middle school, I took on the Mathalon team, and we've had great success throughout my 6 years. So the Mathalon at the middle school is run by me. We have 6 kids on each team. At OES,
Dee Dee Jones, 5th grade teacher, been here many years, won't say how many. Not giving that away. My first year teaching, I was in Mathalon, and then had babies, so gave up Mathalon, and now kids are grown and have a grandbaby, so now I'm back doing Mathalon again.
And I'm Brittany Dodge. I'm also a 5th grade teacher, and this is my first year being a Mathalon coach.
and we're happy about that.
I'm Tessa Posey Morgan. I'm a special ed teacher at AES. I previously have coached Mathalon in Binghamton, where I was a teacher, but Mrs. Price, I had to step out this year, so I have this awesome group of kids, minus one, who were chosen from AES, and it takes a lot to be on the Mathalon team. They have to learn 5th grade curriculum or 6th grade curriculum that they've never been taught before.
Or 7th or 8th grade. Some of those questions were very difficult. We were lucky to have a parent who was a math teacher, and she said that she teaches 8th grade, and she said some of that was even 9th grade curriculum. So these 5th graders and 6th graders were doing curriculum across the board. That's great.
So we'll tell you a little bit about Mathlon, and then the kids will introduce themselves and tell you what their favorite part of Mathlon was. So Mathlon, as it says in the name, is a math competition, and it is held primarily for Tioga County schools. So it was held at Waverly, like was mentioned before, and this year there were, 9 total teams?
Yes.
And they have to go through 5 different rounds of answering math questions. They're competing 5th grade and 6th grade answering the same questions. And then the 5th grade teams are ranked and competing against the 5th grade teams. 6th grade is competing against the 6th grade teams. Through those 5 rounds, the questions range about 20 questions each round. They get 12 minutes to answer those 20 questions. And they also have to work as a team. There's one person writing the answers. Whoever writes the answers, that paper is turned in to be scored. So knowing what it's like to be a scribe, knowing how to put labels on the answers, right? Some of that takes a little bit of work too. And getting your point across to the person that's writing the answers, you want to be clear. So being able to communicate clearly on top of all of that. So learning interpersonal skills as well. A lot of fun. Yeah. So why don't we start with AES? Tell your name and your favorite part of Mathlon.
Make sure you're presenting to the school board.
They chose to be on Mathlon, but they had to take a test to get in, and we only accept 6, so the top 6. So these are your top 6 5th graders who chose to be on the team, and their scores are very much together. So, and they're a great bunch of kids. So you can address everybody. Lauren,
So 5th graders face the school board, because that's right now who we're presenting to.
So Lauren, you can start, and then we'll go down.
Hi there.
Introduce yourself, Lauren, and what's your favorite part?
My name is Lauren, and my favorite part was probably working with my team. My name is Lincoln, and my favorite part was probably the same.
My name is Annabelle, and my favorite part was probably the competition. My name is Ayona, and I like the competition too.
My name is Bella, and my favorite part was probably learning harder math than we would in school.
They met 16 times and stayed after school for an hour and a half just doing that. So, kudos to them.
My name's Lily, and my favorite part of being on the Mathlon team was working as a team.
My name's Carolyn, and my favorite part of being on Mathlon was I was able to hang out with my friends and do something I liked.
My name's Logan, and my favorite part was meeting every day after school, every Tuesday after school, and learning new math topics.
My name's Brendan, and my favorite part was winning, and also being able to work as a team and successfully collaborate.
I'm Brady, and my favorite part was just having fun with my team, and at the competition, I stole all of the Hershey Kisses.
Chocolate makes everything better.
My name is Zach, and my favorite part of the actual thing was being able to do the actual curriculum. Like, it just feels so good to be able to think like, oh, I understand this. Like a few years down the line, we're going to be doing this in class, and like, oh, I already know this is going to be a breeze. I don't have to worry about much. My actually favorite subject in this part was scientific notation because it's quite frankly much easier to do than everything else. I'm going to be blunt.
I'm Nola, and my favorite part was probably working as a team.
I'm Ronald, and I liked that you could ask about something you didn't know.
My name is Jacob, and I liked just being on the team and working together. I'm Emily, and my favorite part of Mathlon was being able to work as a team.
They also worked after school, so they gave up their time for an hour and a half. And to get into Mathlon, all of them had to take a test. So that's the other thing. Our kids gave up free time in order to do that. So that's another big deal. And I'm sure 6th grade was the same way. So big round for that because.
Exciting, boys and girls, you did a great job.
Yeah, we're very proud of you, very proud.
I was there and I watched it, and I will tell you as a spectator, it's not as exciting as watching a basketball game. Because they're all sitting all at their own table, very studiously talking to each other, but in the crowd, you just sit there like you're watching a golf match. You don't say anything. But they all worked very, very well, and I know how hard you work. I worked with Mrs. Jones for a bunch of years as a teacher, and I know the fifth graders had a great math teacher, and I worked with Mrs. Montfort too. Fantastic job. Good for all of you.
Yeah, great job, guys. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you to the parents for taking the time to bring them. And again, we're really, really proud of you. And
Wonderful
keep up the great work.
I have to say though, I don't think I've ever heard a student say that my favorite part was staying after school.
We have a good time.
That's nice, right, okay. Thank you guys, it was wonderful
Thank
to see
you.
all of you.
Thank you very much.
You guys are welcome to leave.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
Pretty excited to be back in the math room. I'm sure many of them will be in it next year as well. So at this point, we are going to give an overview again. Mr. Farrell will give an overview of our budget, just a recent update from our last meeting, and we'll see a few changes that we were able to make to the budget.
All right, so I know last meeting we lost power for like 35 seconds and blew out the power projector, so we couldn't have the presentation. So we thought we'd go over it again. And in that time, we've had some work out of the state legislature. It gives us a better direction of where things are going in the state budget-wise. And we're now at a place where the budget is balanced, and we can propose to you the full budget for you to have and adopt come April. So you can go to the next slide. As usual, as we said last time, this is about maintaining high quality programs, adding where we need to and enhance where we need to. We always try to stay within the tax levy limit. We're doing that and then some this year, obviously, because we're proposing a 0% increase in taxes and not going to the tax levy limit. We also always look to try to balance between district needs and what the school community values. We always try to be forward thinking. From the very beginning of the budget process, you know that we do a long-term plan over the course of 4 to 5 years to see where we're headed and to understand that budgets are not just single-year plans. They are multi-year plans to understand over time how you're going to sustain the operations and programs within your school district. And of course, we always want to manage the school district's resources effectively in support of the educational programs. So, in orange, you'll see the changes since the last presentation. Where we are at this point is a budget, proposed budget of $52,766,334. That is, of course, a match to revenue. That is how you balance the budget every year. Your revenues meet the expenses. The biggest change that we're seeing this year, as opposed to previous years, is the increase in state aid. It's important for the public and the board to know that the foundation aid is now being phased in fully over the next 2 years. For well over 10 years or more, ever since Governor Cuomo initiated the gap elimination adjustment in the first, what was the Great Recession and the major financial crisis that we had back in 2008, 2009, and through 2013 in the state budget side, the foundation aid has not been fully funded for school districts across New York State. In this past year, New York State has now elected to fully fund foundation aid, but they're doing it in a 2-year phase-in. So the largest increase that you're seeing here across, and you'll see this across most school districts in New York State, is that state aid is increasing dramatically. And it's increasing because foundation aid is being fully funded to the formula in which was set forth well back in the early 2000s by the state education department. So you'll see a 13.59% increase in state aid to a tune of $27,321,853. That shift in funding, which has shifted to the state and federal level in a lot of ways over the last couple of years, has allowed us to make some decisions locally about what we ask for in terms of revenue. It is our belief that we can't continue to keep going to the local taxpayer and increasing tax rates or tax increases and increase the levy when the state and the feds are footing the bill. So therefore, over the last 2 years, last year we went out with a 0% raise. This year we're going out with a 0% increase and keeping the property tax levy at exactly $17,900,212. There are no use of reserves or fund balance in this budget, and there is no gap at this point. We went in last time with about a $241,000 one, if you remember from the 7th presentation, and we have filled that gap since. So this is a breakdown of projected revenue. Like I said, the biggest one is that $3,268,949 increase, 13.59% increase in state aid. Part of that increase is about $1.4 million of increase in building aid. Building aid is state aid specifically for capital in your school district. So anytime you do a capital project and you increase or you renovate or upgrade your facilities and you borrow money in exchange for that on the other side, the state will give you, in our particular case, an 87% return on your investment. So what you're seeing here is a $1.4 million increase in building aid, along with the other side of it is being foundation aid. So those two together make a $3.2 million increase, which is the largest one. Next slide. On the expenditure side, biggest increases are in 2 areas. That would be in, well, there's 3 areas. The first one being in non-instructional salaries. Non-instructional salaries are typically your employees' part of the operations side of the house or the school district. I will point out that wages are increasing across the board in all markets in our country. We've had to increase wages. We've had to increase percentages to our employees in order to compete and to be able to market ourselves. So that's where you're going to see the largest increase in salaries is in the non-instructional side, and that's 8.42%. The other increase you'll see is in benefits, about 4%, which is typical, between 4 and 7%. And then the largest one is the debt service increase, which is why I pointed out on the last slide with the increase in building aid. The building aid side of 1.4 matches the debt service side of 1.4, so that it is a wash between state aid and the debt service that you're paying from the public. So you're seeing a large increase because we are finishing our current capital project between Affiliation and OFA, It was a $24 million project, and that'll be closed out this November, and then therefore you'll see the state aid increase and the debt service increase in order to pay the bonds. And they are washed, and there is no change or tax impact to the public for that. So, state aid, again, here's the breakdown of that. You'll notice the increase there in foundation aid, 1.6 at the top, and at the bottom, you'll see the building aid increase there, 42%. Those are your major increases, but overall, 13% increase in aid and overall aid. The next one. Miscellaneous local sources of revenue. The largest piece of this is what's called our pilot agreements, or our payments in lieu of taxes. These are organizations inside of our tax base, are usually large organizations that make agreements with the local government to pay a payment of taxes in lieu of a tax assessment that anybody else normally pays, right? And that is an agreed upon amount that is paid directly to the school. And you'll see that's increased about $118,000, which it typically does. There is a change here in miscellaneous revenue, which is the Federal CARES Act. The Federal CARES Act was enacted 2 years ago in response to the pandemic. We had about $436,000 of CARES Act money, which was provided for the budget. That money is no longer available because it's a one-year funds, and then therefore your revenue goes down that same amount. So that's why you're seeing the decrease of $338,000 and a decrease of 6% overall. This is the breakdown for property taxes and fund balance. You'll see that the appropriated fund balance is staying flat, 1.6. The appropriated fund balance for current capital projects, it stays flat. And property taxes, again, are staying flat, and therefore a 0% increase. So, like I said, proposed budget calls for 0%, no use of reserves. Technically, state aid is not finalized yet with the state legislature. However, all news that we're getting out of Albany is they are about done. Education is not at the forefront of their conversations. It is other things. So typically we are at the forefront, but because there's been a large increase in federal money over the last 2 years, and the state has got their foundation aid fully funded, we're not in the conversation in terms of increasing more money to schools as it's coming from Governor Hochul's office. It's basically, we're keeping it the same. It's what we're getting the news from Albany at this point. Go to the next slide. This is the tax cap levy calculation. We put this in here. It's really informational, and we're required by law to show you, or to give you it. We are not, I'll say it again, the levy allows us to go to 2.58%. We are not doing that. We are electing not to go after to increase taxes, okay? We can, under the law, actually go up to that amount, but we are proposing not to do that, all right? What I will point out about this calculation is you typically hear about the 2% cap. The 2% cap is a misunderstanding. It is in the middle of that calculation, you will see the allowable growth factor of 2%. That is the cap they're talking about inside of the formula. All right, it is not 2% overall, which is why you see that technically our levy is above that, but the growth factor is inside of the calculation. So for us, what is a tax base is increased in the tax base growth factor, which is the third one down, 1.0083%. What that's saying is that as a tax base overall, the assessments and properties within our area have increased. We've had some sort of investment come in. What that is, I can't tell you what that. I don't know what that is, but that's calculated somewhere else with the town. But that number usually drives the number so that you can get to your tax base calculation. Again, I will repeat: we're not going out at that rate. We're going out at 0, or we're proposing to go out at 0. Okay. This is property and budget and property tax history over the last 15 years. You can see how that has grown or has decreased. You'll see that they've had some increases here in the last couple of years. A majority of those increases, again, I will remind the public and the board, is debt service, which is from our capital projects, paying those bonds, which again is being met with state aid, building aid on the other side. All right? You still have to increase your budget in order to meet that revenue. So it can look a little confusing in terms of its increase. We've been pretty steady across the board in terms of taxes, and you can see that the last 2 years, again, 0 and 0. Next slide, please. So, included in the budget, one of the things that we had decided last year, and we want to continue, is the smaller class sizes at the elementary levels. It is our belief that by allowing larger number of sections at the elementary level to have smaller number of sizes or class sizes at the elementary level is more beneficial to kids, so that your teachers can address the concerns and intervene as necessary. 15 kids is a lot different than 23. So when we're able to do that by staffing accordingly, and when you hear that the district is using federal money, the majority of the federal money is being used to support that bullet. Smaller class sizes at the elementary level to allow our children more access to their classroom teacher. That is where most of it is spent. The other thing that we use the federal money for is Cte Programs, that is Career and Technical Education. That is our Building and Construction Systems program. That is our Ag program. That is our Heavy Machinery and Equipment program. Technology, we have pushed heavy on that side because the trades are in desperate need of people and jobs, and therefore we want to use the money accordingly to make an investment in our education in order to support those jobs. The other thing that we do is we put a decent amount of that money in enrichment programs. Enrichment programs happen after school, and they happen during the summer. It is important to understand that when we use that money as it's available to us from the feds and the state, we are looking to get beyond the school day and to help kids on campus with enriched programs that are well beyond the curriculum and have opportunities for kids outside the classroom. We can continue to implement career pathways and service learning opportunities. This is where we are expanding our ideas around careers. We'll be opening and kicking off our career center here in the next month. Our goal as a school district is that we have the kids that are going to eventually be our future workforce, and it's what's important to us is that we get them out to understand what jobs are available to them, what careers are available to them, and our hope and what we're working towards is the senior year should look a lot different. You really shouldn't be hanging around the lobby. You should go to work instead of just sitting around. So we're pushing towards a budget and resources that get our kids, when they're 17 and 18 years old, out to the workforce, out to start doing things to understand the world of work. And that is part of our career pathways and service learning program. And then, like I said, the Career Center will be kicking off soon as well. So that's what's included in the budget this year. We'll also be looking to add a music teacher. We right now have a music teacher splitting between the two elementary schools. What happens in that scenario is you can only really reach 4th and 5th grade. We need to stretch down even further into the 3rd to get kids younger into music. That means that we have to have a music teacher at both the elementary schools. And that way they can stretch and get into the 3rd, maybe even the 2nd grade. That'll increase our enrollments and numbers in our music program, which is a strong program. And we believe in that investment as part of this budget. Other than that, I don't think there's anything else that we're including in the budget. here is the timeline. Today obviously is the official proposal to you, the board. You'll have up until the 18th of April to adopt it, and that'll be the final approval. The first information session will be at Affiliation on May 4th. The official one will be probably here on the 9th, and then the vote will be on the 17th of May. Any questions from the board?
I don't have any questions. I can tell you that sitting here 3 years ago, this did not look like this at all. And I laid at work, late at night, worried about how we were going to go to the public to get our cap to be under that so that we could fund the school and not have to lay off teachers. This is beautiful compared to that. We're not cutting positions, we're creating positions that actually, some of them were cut back then. We're putting them back in place.
I think we learned our lesson from the Great Recession. When federal money comes in, you use it the right way, and if you use it the right way, you set yourself up in a long-term way so that, look, another recession will happen. It's going to happen at some point. And when it does, and the constraints come on governments to cut back on spending, you have to be prepared for that. Even with a 0%, we believe in a long-term strategy. We have set ourselves up, maintain programs well enough to where we're going to be okay. I believe that.
I don't think that we were set up bad to begin with.
It was just different
because
time.
the state kept reducing the funds to us, which in turn.
They kept shifting it back on the local taxpayers. That's what they kept doing. That's correct.
Along with what Stacy said, I remember the days when you were working on the budget with Bill Russell, and we were just getting so little money from the state.
That's correct.
And as I looked at that percentage number, 13 point something.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, what a luxury it is to have that coming in compared to what we were getting back in those
And keeping your
years that
teachers,
you're talking about.
At bay with their raises that they deserve, and to be able to offer them a raise that they deserve now is wonderful. I can remember when they took 0. Yeah. So to me, this just looks wonderful. And the stuff that we offer our kids is beyond awesome. My son will be graduating with an associate's degree when he graduates from high school, along with most of his classmates. That's a huge savings to a lot of parents, a lot. I can't even tell you how big of a savings that is.
We probably need to do a little bit better job marketing that to help parents understand and that's available.
Mark, you get to the point you asked with the high school kids where you explain it to them.
Yep.
As you and I discussed with coaching the other night, you get to the point where you gotta trust the kids. I'm sorry, but Jace and my son and all of their friends are gonna graduate with associates because of your son, because he's in their grade. And they know that they can ask him, what do I need to do?
Don't ask him. Don't ask him.
But they do. And honestly, he's helped guide them year after year with their schedules as far as.
Trying to get him
But
to
I
listen
think
to
it's
me.
just more, we have to let the parents know, because the parents do still kind of need to be involved. And if we know exactly what they have to take, it's how many courses do they have to take each summer or in the winter, and then you can plan it out per se. I just think maybe a little more information to the parents might be.
Yeah, we actually, that's, as we talk about the Career Center and the college pathways, you're gonna get more and more information on that.
Because I think there's a lot of people that still don't know.
Right. As you start to approach post high school, it's a daunting task of what's out there. If you're going to go to school, what your choices are. That is a.
Yeah, the Career Center will link all that. It's an opportunity to have those conversations, bring parents in to.
And also, I
discuss
love
what
that
that
you're
looks like.
including local business owners that, obviously have the need, and these kids.
We're getting good
Maybe
response.
I wanna be a chef, maybe I wanna be a hairdresser, maybe I wanna be HVAC.
We're getting a lot of, like, so far, we've just put that, the letter out, and we'll talk more about this in a later meeting, about the Career Center, but the response is good so far. We're getting a lot of small business that's reaching out and saying, yes, they need workers, they need employees, they're just, people are asking for that. And
If you look at the big picture of what's going on in the country, right, student debt is out of control.
it is.
Yeah.
So this is an opportunity to set kids up and families up for a lot less debt for if they choose to go to school.
Well, that's like I was saying, there's kids right now in Portland doing that parents career executive taking a year. And Scott and I were discussing it with Jack. You know, he said to Jack, say, you know, you graduate, you get your associates, and you go to college. And you do a year of college, and whatever reason it's not for you, or you're out, you still have an associate's. So if you decide in 2 years you want to go back, you still have that associate's underneath your belt.
Right.
To help you get jump started no matter when you do it. So there's just so many benefits to it. And I really think there's so many kids that can do it.
It's that investment, and this is it's part of the budget. It's staffing. It's having the plan between our guidance department and our high school administration. It's all in there.
I do have another question. Are we going to be offering virtual next year also too as an option?
I believe we are.
Because I know I've recruited 2 students this year that are virtual because they just in school is not for them. And what a great opportunity. How do we go for that too?
Some kids it works really well for,
Right.
others not so much for me to be in person.
It's got to be a little bit more choice.
Right.
Especially when you get to be 17, 18 years old. You got to start looking at the world a little bit more like what it is.
Right.
And the world's more choice than being formally for you. So that's the work we're trying to do.
That's awesome.
Other questions?
Mr. Fairley, nice job.
All right. Moving on. The district business. Corey, can you explain a little more about this Miscellaneous?
Oh, Jill, do you want to talk a little bit about the Pennsylvania State Affiliation?
It's a contract that we're going to use to bring on an occupational therapy intern from Penn State, so in a nutshell.
We had a school psychologist in
Okay, so I need a motion to accept the agreement with Penn State University.
So
And Linda and Danny. All in favor? Aye. That's great. Okay. This is for the resolution for the capital project?
Yes.
Okay. This is to add it to the, okay. 10.2 is the resolution for the capital project for the, well, yeah. This, we'll add it to the referendum on May 17th. I need a, Linda? Kathy? Anybody? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. I didn't see you on the other side. I'm sorry, Stacy and Kathy. Any questions on that? All in favor? Aye. That's good. Okay. Moving on, the sheet that Marcy showed me, there was no one that had signed up to speak.
There was one person.
All right, that's
Oh,
it.
there's, there was one out there. That's the one. Oh, good. Sorry.
It's all right. Then I have-
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it did get a little wet. I'm sorry. Well, yeah, actually, there's Jerry. You're on. Oh, okay. Not Jerry.
Not Jerry. A different board.
There's a big water spot on your name. I'm sorry.
I pray that it wasn't tears, honestly.
Sorry.
Do I just sit here?
You're fine, right where you
Okay,
are.
good. I'm just going to read a statement. On 7 March 2022, Patty Miller addressed the Board of Education, discouraged and disheartened that despite public coming to the board with concerns regarding the safety of children being exposed to sex ed, DEI, and SEL, as state-mandated programs, there appeared to be little or no pushback from the board. Parents and the taxpayers expressing concern about the damage to children because of these programs was met with the board saying their hands are tied. A parent in the room disagreed with Patty's position, interrupted and started yelling that nobody cares, and you do not represent all the parents in this room. The board did speak up, stopping the parent and tried to reassure Patty that the board does care about what she thinks. During the next 4 minutes, the board debated that they do not make up the rules, they just follow them. Discussed board removal, that the board does not have a fight with taxpayers, there is no fight. That the board resented anyone that would question that they are not in it for the kids. Also saying, sorry, you're not happy. You're just talking in generalities. I'm not going to debate with you, and we're done. This was dismissive, but it was not the end of it. After being shut down by an interrupting parent and the board, the abuse continued. 10 minutes went by and the meeting was being wrapped up. The board called upon the interrupting parent and wanted to give him the floor, saying, you didn't sign up for anything. I didn't want to put you on the spot, and I didn't want to shut you down. At this point, this was validating and giving space to a misogynistic individual. The board validating this dismissive attitude, intimidating Patty, and her right to speak is wrong. For that, I am requesting the board publicly apologize to Patty Miller and reassure her and other parents that they are welcome to address the OACSD Board of Education without prejudice. This is a moment of irony since March is Women's Month. Let's make this right.
Thank you, Mr. Ward. Is anyone else smart? No, it's okay. Just looking to see if there was anyone else. Okay. Moving on to the, I guess, administrator's reports. Gavin, I guess I'm going to let you start.
All right, sure thing. Good evening, everyone. As far as I know, everything at OFA has been going on really well. We just had a dance this past weekend, which was nice to kind of, it felt like school usually does, you know. Not everyone was wearing their masks, everyone was one of the two is doing a fundraiser so that people can donate to help stuff with Ukraine, so I think that's really good. And then 2 weekends ago as well, we had a young men's volleyball tournament where a lot of the senior guys, it was just like a quick little thing. We got to play in a volleyball, which we don't usually get to do, and that was a lot of fun as well. But other than that, it's just been smooth sailing. It's been pretty good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Mr. B, you're first.
Well, I know that one of the district initiatives is the OA Healthy, and I would like to say that the Appalachian teachers have taken that and run with it, and pickleball has become quite a phenomenon at the elementary school on Mondays, and we have a good portion of our staff who's gone out and purchased their own paddles, and they're staying after school, and I guess now they're carpooling to Elmira a couple times a week, and a lot of people are walking around in the morning with what we call pickle butt from sore muscles. But it's really nice to see the teachers out there, and they're really playing and having a lot of fun. Also, I would just like to ask, and I've said this before, but we really want to request that people don't change their child's pickup time after 1 o'clock. That it's really creating a serious problem for us, and we'd request that they don't make any changes after 1 o'clock. Thanks.
Mr. Trumpill.
Just adding, well, for Tom and I, state tests for ELA begin tomorrow for us. So we're going to be doing our ELA exams tomorrow and Wednesday. Kids and teachers have been working really hard. I know they're going to do a good job, so we're getting ready for that tomorrow. We're also excited. Copernic reached out about 2 weeks ago They just received a grant, and they're going to be pushing into OES starting tomorrow. They're going to be working with all classes, grades 1st through 5th grade throughout the day and the next 4 days. So the kids are really excited. Copernic is happy to start working with kids again and get back in the building. So that should be fun for them to have that and take their minds off the state test over the next couple days.
Yeah.
Yeah, we will also be having some state tests this week, the next 2 days. We will be having the ELA exams in 6th grade, and then the end of the week doing 7th and 8th grade also. Gavin took mine on the OFA dance, but I just wanted to let the board know that it was the first time that we used Mr. Service's student DJs to DJ the dance.
I did see that.
Yeah, they did a great job. The kids loved it. It was a blacklight dance. They had a great night. Really good time. A few of us, teachers and administrators, attended the Kiwanis Trivia Night on Friday night to support them because, of course, they have a few scholarships with us. The administrative team, Mr. Beatty, carried the team, but we ended up with no points. We bet it all at the end, and we just didn't get it done. I think County State Bank won the entire thing, but it was a great night, and it was definitely something worthwhile for our scholarships for our students here in Owego. From a music standpoint, I know in the last board meeting they mentioned TCMEA. That was held here with successful turnout. The kids had a great time, sounded awesome. We had the District Choral Fest last week. If anyone went to it, was unbelievable. Mrs. Burrell, Ms. Scotts, and the music department did a great job along with the kids. And then, of course, we did have Jazz Night a few weeks ago also, which was outstanding too. So a lot of great things happening right now in the district, and it's going to continue on through the spring.
And I saw there was a bunch of kids going to NISBA too, is that what it was?
Yeah, we have NISBA starting. I know, I think they're in the they're starting this weekend, elementary, and then, secondary also.
That's awesome.
All right, thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay. I need a motion to adjourn.
Oh, no,
Go ahead.
one second, I apologize. So I just wanted to, he was here, Ron was here, but I wanted to give a shout out to Ron and to our construction kids for doing the baseball dugouts the day of the first game. They came through huge. And I got to the game started at 4:30, I got to the game at 4:25, and the first person I see is Ron Weaver standing behind the backstop. And I said, Ron, thank you so much. And he said, well, I had to come watch the kids play the first game on a brand new turf field. And we stayed there for a couple innings. So I just wanted to give a shout out to him, thank him and the kids for doing that. Because they really came through in the end. So, and it looks great. So,
Thanks.
I just want to say that.
Let's get over and check them out. Thanks, Pat. Anyone else?
Yeah, no, but I'll make a motion.
You make a motion. I got a motion, I need a second.
Second.
Jason, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.